Utah is on fire, and I mean that literally, folks. More than 474,000 acres have burned across this state in 2026 alone. That is nearly 3 times what burned in all of last year combined. And right now, the worst wildfire of the season is still 0% contained. I'm talking about the Widemouth 2 fire burning in central Utah as we speak. It has exploded to over 84,000 acres in just a matter of days. That is nearly the size of Salt Lake City proper, burning with zero containment. And here's the thing, the weather coming this weekend is going to make things worse. This is your full Utah wildfire and weather forecast for August 5th. We have a lot to cover: current fire conditions, road closures, evacuation zones, the firefighting effort, and what the atmosphere has in store over the next 3 days. Let's dive in, and please, if you're in Millard County or anywhere near these fires, stay with me. This information could directly affect your safety. All right, first, let's establish just how historically bad this fire season has been for Utah. According to Utah Fire Info, the official state tracking dashboard as of this morning, Utah has recorded 755 total wildfires, burning a cumulative 474,176 acres in 2026. To put that in perspective, in all of 2024, the entire season totaled about 90,000 acres. This year, we've burned 5 times that amount. State officials say this ranks among the second or third worst fire seasons on record for Utah. Now, here is where the data gets really telling. Of those 755 fires, 380 were human-caused, burning about 74,651 acres in total. Another 321 fires were sparked naturally, primarily by lightning, burning 145,598 acres. But here's the number that stands out. 54 fires with causes still under investigation have burned a staggering 253,927 acres, more than half of the total acreage this year. That category likely includes the Widemouth 2 fire, which started July 27th and is still under investigation, though officials believe lightning triggered the initial ignition. And why has this season been so devastating? Let me walk you through the setup. The 2025 to 2026 winter was the warmest on record for Utah and also had one of the lowest snowpack levels the state has ever seen. Less snow means less soil moisture going into spring, which means vegetation dried out earlier and more completely than in a normal year. In southern Utah especially, fire officials say vegetation is as dry as it has been in a century. Layer on top of that a summer heat dome, critically low relative humidity. We're talking 5 to 10% in fire zones and persistent gusty winds. And you have what Fillmore's district ranger described as fire behavior more intense than many could ever recall. Now let's go deeper on the Widemouth 2 fire, because this is the headline story right now. It is burning in Millard County in central Utah, south of the town of Kanosh near Fillmore. The fire started with a lightning strike on July 27th, moving slowly at first through Fish Lake National Forest. Then, on the night of Saturday, August 1st, everything changed. Strong southerly winds pushed the fire approximately 9 miles north along the Fish Lake National Forest boundary. By Sunday morning, it had tripled in size, and by Monday, it had grown again to over 68,000 acres. As of August 4th, the fire stands at approximately 84,229 acres with 0% containment. And here's what made this fire so difficult to fight in those critical first days. When the fire jumped its containment line south of Kanosh on Saturday night, the U.S. Forest Service made the call to pull firefighters back from the front line entirely. Their statement, and I am quoting directly from the official U.S. Forest Service press release, with the quick fire growth, it would be too dangerous to put firefighters in front of this fire. No amount of resources will stop this forward progression given the current conditions and predicted weather. That is an extraordinary statement from the agency managing this fire. It tells you just how extreme the behavior was. Fire officials also noted something important. This fire continued to grow aggressively after dark, a pattern experts say is becoming more common as overnight temperatures stay warmer and humidity stays lower. Historically, fires slow down at night, but officials say that overnight recovery window is shrinking. The Widemouth 2 fire tripled in size overnight Saturday, and that context matters a great deal for the days ahead. Now, let's talk about what the fire has done to the communities in that area. Fillmore, a city of about 2,800 people, has mandatory evacuations in effect for the southeastern portions, specifically east of State Route 99 between 500 South and 1,600 South. The smaller community of Kanosh has evacuation orders for areas south of 300 South, Turkey, Track Lane, and Cemetery Road. And in Meadow, residents east of State Route 133 from Cemetery Road all the way to Reservation Drive are under mandatory evacuation order. An emergency shelter has been established at the old National Guard Armory in Fillmore at 45 West Center Street. The Paiute Indian Tribe of Utah declared a state of emergency at 4:20 inches the morning on Sunday for the Kanosh Band Reservation, directing tribal members to seek shelter in Fillmore. And even the Utah Department of Corrections had to act. 40 inmates from the Millard County Jail were relocated to the Utah State Correctional Facility in Salt Lake City for their safety. In terms of structural damage, and this is remarkable given the fire's size, no structures have been destroyed as of the latest official reports. 0 homes lost, a testament to the work of fire crews, prioritizing structure protection even as the fire grew. However, the agricultural impact has been significant. More than 100 cattle have been confirmed killed in the fire, according to the Millard County Sheriff. 2 firefighters have sustained minor injuries, and Fillmore Mayor Kurt Hare signed a local emergency declaration, as did Millard County as a whole. Now let's talk roads, because if you are driving anywhere in central Utah today, you need to know this. Highway 91 is closed in the fire area. Corn Creek Road near Kanosh is closed, and roads east of 500 West near Meadow are closed. Interstate 15 between Kanosh and Fillmore is open, but authorities are asking you to avoid unnecessary travel and keep those lanes clear for emergency vehicles. The Potter's Pond campground is also shut down until further notice. Up in Salt Lake County, Interstate 80 near Parley's Canyon saw closures earlier this week after a separate brush fire ignited right off the roadway. So be aware, fire-related road disruptions are possible statewide, not just in the Widemouth 2 zone. Let's move to the second major active fire, the Black Canyon Fire in San Pete and Emery counties. This fire is currently estimated at around 800 acres with 0% containment, and it has triggered new evacuation orders for a subdivision east of Ephraim. Unfavorable winds in that area have complicated firefighting efforts significantly this week. Now, there is some better news from the other 2 larger fires of the season. The Babylon Fire down in San Juan County, 107,189 acres, is now at 95% containment. The Cottonwood Fire over in Beaver County, which reached 97,464 acres, is also sitting at 95% contained. And the Johnson Canyon Fire up in Box Elder County, about 6,889 acres, is at 65% contained and improving, with Governor Cox confirming crews made good progress there this week. The statewide picture is mixed progress on some fronts, but Widemouth 2 remains a fully active emergency situation. Let's talk about the firefighting effort on that fire specifically. As of August 4th, approximately 420 personnel are assigned to the Widemouth 2 fire. The Great Basin Complex Incident Management Team 2 assumed command at 6 in the morning Tuesday. That is a more advanced team equipped to handle large, complex fire incidents. Firefighters are using what is called a direct and indirect suppression strategy. Direct means actually engaging the fire edge where terrain and conditions allow crews to do so safely. Indirect means building containment lines ahead of the fire's path to stop it before it arrives, rather than fighting it head-on. Air resources, helicopters, and fixed-wing tankers have been flying around the clock, dropping water buckets and heavy fire retardant on the most threatened areas near communities. Carl Hunt, spokesperson for the U.S. Forest Service, said this week, and I am quoting directly, "We're a little thin on resources, but that's the story across the West with the fire activity we've seen. We have orders out for more crews, and when they come available, we're trying to fill those orders." That is the resource reality right now. The Great Basin region's preparedness level is at 4 out of 5, meaning fire activity across Utah, Nevada, and Idaho is straining shared resources simultaneously. On the funding side, FEMA has approved a fire management assistance grant for Utah, meaning the federal government will cover 75% of eligible firefighting costs for the state. That covers everything from personnel mobilization to equipment, field camps, tools, and supplies. And I want to take a moment here to acknowledge a very painful chapter from earlier in this season. Back in June, 4 members of a specialized heli-tac crew and aerial firefighting team were killed on the Utah-Colorado border in what is called a burnover incident. A burnover is when advancing fire overtakes crew members before they can reach safety. Emily Barker, 38, Nick Hutcherson, 27, Nathan Matthews, 43, and Sydney Watson, 27. 4 people who gave their lives fighting to protect Utah's communities and landscapes. A 5th crew member survived but was hospitalized with serious burn injuries. Their sacrifice is part of the context for every decision being made out in the field right now. All right, let's shift to the forecast. And this is where I need your full attention, especially if you are anywhere in central or northern Utah over the next 72 hours. This forecast is based on data from the National Weather Service office in Salt Lake City, updated at 12:31 a.m. Mountain Time today, specifically for the Fillmore area and Millard County. Today, Wednesday, August 5th, the NWS forecast for Fillmore shows areas of smoke, sunny skies, and a high near 97 degrees Fahrenheit with light and variable winds. Overnight lows will be around 67 degrees, with widespread smoke expected mainly between midnight and 3 a.m. Up along the Wasatch Front, the NWS is showing highs around 90 degrees today for Salt Lake City. There is a meaningful temperature difference between the Wasatch Front and the fire zone. To the south, do not let today's Salt Lake numbers give you a false sense of comfort. Moving into Thursday, August 6th, the NWS forecast for Fillmore shows patchy smoke, sunny and hot conditions with a high near 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Red flag warnings remain active across multiple zones as issued by NWS Salt Lake City, including the San Rafael Swell, Manti National Forest, Tavaputs Plateau, and the western Uintah Basin. Those warnings specify winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour and relative humidity as low as 5 to 6%. Those are extreme fire weather values. Any new ignition under those conditions would spread rapidly. Now, and this is the part I really want you to pay attention to, here comes the weekend. Friday, August 8th through Saturday, August 9th, the NWS is forecasting sunny and hot conditions for Fillmore with highs near 101 degrees Fahrenheit both days. That is on top of already extremely dry and stressed fuels across the entire fire zone. Down in Street George and southern Utah, according to KSL's NWS source forecast, temperatures are expected near 110 degrees Fahrenheit through the weekend. Here is the critical atmospheric setup for this weekend that fire meteorologists are watching closely. A high-pressure system has been parked over the Four Corners region. That is where Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico meet. And that high has been blocking monsoonal moisture from pushing into the state. Meanwhile, a low-pressure system to the north has been pushing some cooler air southward, but it is also funneling wildfire smoke from Oregon and Washington into northern Utah's airspace. The NWS in Salt Lake City confirms smoke impacts will continue through at least Wednesday. For the weekend, NWS issued red flag warnings are expected across multiple regions of the state, with southwesterly winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour and gusts reaching 40 to 50 miles per hour in the most exposed areas. That is the same wind pattern that drove this fire 9 miles north in a single night fire. Crews are well aware of that threat. Fillmore Mayor Hare's biggest current concern is the drainage areas leading up to Mount Catherine, where a significant portion of the watershed has already burned. That is a long-term water supply issue that will extend well beyond this fire emergency and affect the community for years to come. Now, is there any good news on the horizon? The NWS 7-day forecast for Fillmore shows a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms beginning Saturday night and extending through next week. That is a signal that monsoonal moisture may begin returning to the southern Utah mountains. However, and this is a critical distinction, fire meteorologists always make early monsoon moisture in extremely dry conditions often produces dry thunderstorms. Dry thunderstorms mean lightning reaches the ground without measurable rainfall, and under these drought conditions, that is one of the most dangerous scenarios possible. Dry lightning can start new fires even as storm clouds build overhead and people assume the rains have arrived, so watch this situation carefully. The National Interagency Coordination Center confirms above normal fire potential for central and northern Utah through the entire month of August, monsoon or not. If you are in Utah right now, here is what the National Weather Service and Utah fire officials recommend. Follow all fire restrictions without exception. Any spark right now, any spark at all, can become the next emergency under these conditions. Governor Cox said it directly. The best way to support these crews is by preventing new fires. Please avoid anything that could create a spark. Sign up for emergency alerts in your county and know your evacuation zone before you need it. Have a go bag ready, medicines, important documents, phone charger, water, and supplies for your pets. Make arrangements now for livestock, and if officials order an evacuation, go immediately. The Widemouth 2 fire moved 9 miles in a single night. There is no time to wait and see. Monitor NWS air quality alerts if you are in the smoke impact zone, particularly northern Utah, the Salt Lake and Utah valleys, and parts of southwest Utah. Limit your outdoor exposure if you have any respiratory conditions. The smoke is a documented public health concern right now. For drivers, check Utah DOT road conditions before heading onto I-15 through central Utah or any state highways in Millard, San Pete, or Emery counties. Conditions are changing rapidly and closures can go into effect with very little notice. All right, let me bring this together for you. Utah is dealing with one of the worst wildfire seasons in its recorded history, second or third worst on record, with 474,000 acres burned across 755 fires. Communities have been evacuated. 420 firefighters are assigned to a single fire that remains 0% contained, and resources are stretched thin across the entire region. And the National Weather Service is forecasting triple-digit heat and high winds this weekend that will challenge every containment line crews have built. This is absolutely a developing situation. As new NWS forecasts and official fire updates are issued, I will be here with updated information. If this video was helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn notifications on so you get updates the moment they post. This information needs to reach as many people in Utah as possible right now. To every firefighter out there right now on the Widemouth 2, the Black Canyon, and every other active fire across the state, thank you. We see you, and we appreciate you. And to the communities of Fillmore, Kanosh, Meadow, and every other town watching those ridgelines, stay strong, stay informed, and stay ready to move when you need to. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and that means all of you in Utah right now.